Welcome to episode 3 of Spilling the Beans. I'm Hillary.
I'm Greg.
And today we're going to be dispelling probably the most common coffee myth there is out there.
Also, we are trying this very special coffee from a roaster in Querétaro, Mexico.
Yep.
This is a geisha coffee. Before we get to this common coffee myth that we want to, well, it's not dispel. It's not that like we figured this out, but we get these comments, these messages, these emails all the time. I'm sure you may think this.
Yep.
You may be wrong. I was wrong.
And we're here to set the record straight.
But first, we're trying a geisha coffee. I don't think I've ever had a coffee that was 100% geisha. And what I mean by that is within the coffee world, I'm sure many of you already know this, it's very similar to wine. There are varieties of different coffee bean types. Not only is there Arabica and Robusta, I feel like I say those in Spanish.
Yeah.
There's
Arabica.
Robusta.
Robusta.
I don't know how you say that in English. I don't know how you say it in Spanish. Not only those, but there are subcategories within each one. We don't really drink Robusta coffee.
No.
Tried it in Vietnam. Didn't like it. Disgusting. Sorry, Vietnamese people. I didn't like it. I'm sorry. Anyways, similar to wine, there's red wine, there's white wine, but within red wine, there is Malbec, there's Chardonnay. I put myself out on a limb here because I don't know that many wine varieties.
Is Chardonnay or red?
I don't know. Probably not. This is why we don't have a wine channel. Anyways, geisha is a very particular type of Arabica bean that is known to be delicious, known to be very sweet, very fruity. It's usually quite expensive. And this bag was 100 grams, and I think it was $5 for 100 grams. We'll try it. Apapacho and Querétaro, grown. We have very specific information here. Grown in Veracruz. And interesting thing, this is what I'm calling a micro lot. They grew less than 12 kilos, like less than 25 total pounds of unroasted coffee. I want to get our hands on this for Con Todo Coffee. But first, let's just taste it. We're going to see if we can identify any of the tasting notes and if they're similar at all to what the roaster has identified. We're really going to put our coffee taste test to the test.
Cheers.
Cheers. What are we cheersing to?
Gentle cheers. To identifying the notes, please.
Okay. First smell.
Ooh, that smells... You know what that smells like?
What's that?
Coffee.
Oh, okay. This is the level
He's hiding the notes because he doesn't trust that I won't cheat.
Trust you. This is the level of jokes we got today.
Oh, that smells good. I don't know.
Whenever I was grinding it, I smelled it a little bit more grinding it. I don't
taste it yet.
I don't want to say. I'll tell you what I picked up.
Okay.
I picked up amaretto was what I thought.
Oh.
Amaretto.
Wow. That's deep.
Very specific. Very sweet.
Yeah. You're right.
Just very sweet, but not necessarily floral sweet.
Yes.
Strawberry sweet. Amaretto.
Amaretto, you're right.
I don't know.
Amaretto smells a lot like amaretto.
Okay, let's just try it.
I do not think it tastes like it smells.
Really?
No, I think it smells really sweet, but I don't feel like it tastes as sweet as it smells.
Agreed. It does not taste as sweet. It tastes more acidic than I was anticipating based on the smell. I think I thought based on the smell it was gonna be a lot fruitier and probably less acidic.
Pomegranate.
Are you just making stuff up?
No. I feel like a pomegranate's good because I feel like pomegranate is like a little sweet, fruity, but also has like a little tart, sassy side.
I wish you were wrong.
I was gonna say grapefruit, but I feel like it's not quite grapefruit. Grapefruit is like, and this doesn't make me do that.
An interesting thing about coffee also is how it tastes as it cools.
Yeah, I think it does taste
sometimes
different.
It'll taste a little different. I'm gonna let mine cool a little bit. Let's see what the bag has on this micro lot.
Wait. Key lime pie.
No, it does not taste like key lime pie. It's not nearly that limey.
Okay,
it's not that acidic or citrusy to me.
Not citrusy?
It's not that citrus. When I think of key lime pie, that's like, maybe I just don't like key lime pie. And I like this coffee, so I don't want them to be associated.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think it's as citrusy. It smells so much like amaretto now. I can't get that out of my mind.
I love the smell of it.
Yeah.
Let's see what the roasting notes say.
Come on, pomegranate.
This is, and I believe this was number 54. This was from Positos. Positos Veracruz, processed natural, geisha, and producer Carlos Cadena Jr. So there you go. The more information about your coffee you have,
the better.
Tell me what this is 54. Like. I'm sorry. Fragrance: sweet, fruity, and fruity evoking mango. Interesting. It's written in Spanish, so I'm trying to translate here.
Yeah.
Dulce frutal que evoca a mango. I'm not getting
but
mango.
get to the
I'm not
next
getting mango.
line. High citrus.
High citrus.
Like a lime.
Like kefir. Kefir, I've never had that. So.
But we know what that is.
Like a lime. It does say limey. So.
I feel like you talked me out of the citrus.
I'm sorry. You were right. Dulzar. Does that mean like how sweet
like
it
the
is?
Sweetness.
Sweetness, medium high, like a dulce de leche. What's dulce de leche in English? Like, what is that? What is that?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know.
What is it in Mexico? What is a dulce de leche?
I don't know. Milk? Sweet?
Sweetened
milk?
Sweetened caramel milk? Are we...
Woo!
Okay, episode 3 is now concluded. Like piloncillo, which is brown sugar, kind of.
Kind of like brown sugar, yep.
Flavor.
Okay, this is the flavor.
Okay, I can see this. Strawberry, raspberry, Jamaica.
Jamaica is a very popular flavor in Mexico, but before coming and living in Mexico for 6 years, I had never... It's hibiscus. It's a very common flavor here for waters and stuff.
Yeah.
Now that you know hibiscus, does it taste like that?
A little bit. I can see that. Of course, after you read something, like, when
Yeah.
you read it, it's like, oh yeah,
I think
you can make
Jamaica,
that up. But
hibiscus is a flower, right?
yeah.
It doesn't really taste like
Florally.
flowers.
Yeah, it's not a real floral
I'm going to
coffee.
say pomegranate, at least I had the right color of fruit, right? Does that count? Like strawberries.
But then you also said lime. You said key lime pie.
And it says both.
Yeah.
Nailed it. It is good. It's enjoyable.
It's a
really,
very
that's what's supposed to be important.
Yeah, exactly.
Who cares?
I don't know. We're being nerds, but it is
Yep.
an enjoyable. It's a good cup of coffee.
Yep.
It's probably. I don't know. Let us know where you fall in this. Do you want to drink something like exotic every day, or like I usually drink 2 cups of coffee a day. Sometimes I don't want something that's too different. I just want something a little bit more. I don't know what the correct.
Classic.
Well, we sell a coffee named El Clasico, but
No, I know what you mean,
something
though.
more mild that still tastes good, still has strong flavors,
But
but
it's
not
totally not funky. I think
Yeah.
that's totally normal. And then I feel like for our second cup, we go crazy.
Yeah, sometimes you need the second cup with
Yeah.
a little bit of
This
character.
one's really good. I don't know that it's my favorite cup. I'll say that.
Yeah,
I wanted
I would
it to
give
be
it-
because I feel like it's a very small micro lot and it's very like exclusive.
Yep.
But
I appreciate the coffee for the exclusivity. I appreciate the coffee for the traceability.
Yep.
For the amount of work that goes into creating a single variety coffee. For the roasting and the amount of information that went into this coffee. I appreciate it
Yep.
for all of those reasons.
pure.
But
Very pure.
just on a pure taste, if we had to go a scale of 1 to 10, where are you giving this coffee? 10 being the best coffee you've ever had in the entire world, 0 being Folgers.
I would say maybe about a 7. It's good. It's not my favorite.
Okay, it's a 7.
It's a 7. I am brutal with my ratings.
You are brutal. Okay, now for probably the biggest coffee myth
Yep.
in the entire coffee world. You may have guessed it already. What is it?
The biggest myth revolves around light roast and dark roast. And within that light roast versus dark roast, there's several different sort of myths within those two and like the marketing that's involved in each. But the biggest myth, I think, is that a dark roast means things that it doesn't really mean. And by that, I mean a dark roast has more caffeine because
Is what people think.
Is what people think, and that is absolutely
False.
Myth busted.
Yes, many people think that because a coffee is darker, like this coffee is
Yeah,
more of a
it's-
medium roast. I wouldn't say
yeah.
this is light. It doesn't look as dark and, dare I say, bold, which I don't know. That word gets thrown around a little too much.
Yep.
You think, okay, it's not as strong, therefore it doesn't have as much caffeine in it. But per gram, it's not.
A dark roast does not have more caffeine.
Light roast, in fact, may have a little bit more, I've read, but it seems like the difference is so minimal that
Yeah.
it's not going to make a difference. So if you're making coffee, if you're new to maybe drinking something lighter, more medium, as long as you're making it the same way, in the same method, which you should be using a coffee scale. If you're drinking coffee without a coffee scale,
You gotta get one.
just don't trust you. I just can't trust you. You have to get a coffee scale, but it's not weaker. If your coffee
Yep.
tastes weak or too watery, that's the way you made it and not the coffee itself.
Yeah, and this is also, I feel like, probably the second most common myth between a light roast and dark roast, and that is that a light roast is weaker. But the only thing that affects whether a coffee is weak or not is two things: how much coffee you're using and also the method of preparation, but it's not actually the beans itself. I think that's a common misconception, because the lighter the color, it seems like your brain just wants to make the connection that it could be weaker, almost like tea. I feel like if a tea is lighter, it could be weaker. Could it? I don't know. Maybe that's another myth about tea that I don't know.
We can't talk tea, we can't talk wine. I think, not to get too far down the rabbit hole, I think that is a myth that companies like Starbucks and cheap coffee companies don't mind it being a myth, because they serve a very dark roasted coffee. And the reason that they roast their beans so incredibly dark is
that the darker the roast, the less inherent flavors that you can really pull and taste in a cup of coffee. So if you just roast the crap out of your beans, it's usually what most people are drinking, and it just tastes like a normal cup of coffee.
It means they can buy their coffee beans from hundreds, if not thousands, of different farms, all different types, whereas this was one particular farm by one farmer. That is one particular variety of Arabica. A company like Starbucks is going to buy huge amounts of coffee from all over the place, even just within Mexico, wherever they buy their coffee. It's so many different producers, so many different types of beans.
We've seen it.
Yeah, we've seen it ourselves, made or produced in different ways, using different methods, and the way they can get their coffee, the way they can hide that, the way you don't get one type of coffee at Starbucks and then you show up and order the same drink and it tastes completely different, is they just basically burn the heck out of the beans. That way it all tastes the same. And that's not to say that dark roast coffee isn't good, but typically if you're wanting to experience the unique flavors from coffee, you're just not going to get that from dark roast. But dark roast is obviously extremely popular for a reason. I mean, people like it.
Yeah, I like a dark roast. A dark roast on a certain day made with my homemade creamer. I am all for a dark roast on certain days.
Are you trying to sell them creamer now?
I make a pretty good homemade
No, that is
creamer.
a good point. I do think this with milk with creamer might not taste as good.
Yeah, I feel like the lighter a roast, personally, the worse, the better it is to just drink it on its own. It's kind of like mixing things that are like acidic or citrusy, like this coffee is, with like a creamy thing. Kind of feels like you're kind of mixing and matching, whereas like a dark roast tastes better with milk.
Tastes a lot better milk.
Myth busted.
It would be like if you put milk in your orange juice. It just exactly. You wouldn't.
Oh, but like a dreamsicle.
Okay, now that you say that, that's pretty good. There you have it. Episode 3. In episode 1 of Spilling the Beans, we did confirm that, in fact, coffee makers suck.
Yep.
Episode 2, we taste tested. What did we do in episode 2?
Like grocery store coffee versus high quality coffee, and you put me to the test, and you didn't think I was right, but I could definitely tell.
What do you want to see in episode 4? We have some interesting ideas, but of course we want your input, and we cannot wait. I think that wraps it up for this key lime pie flavored coffee.
Amaretto. Key lime pie, amaretto.
Perfect.
Ow. every time. Why? But Greg, just yeah. You don't have to do it so hard. It's like.
It just feels like there's no enthusiasm.
Okay, well, like do it like enthusiastically, but not hard. No, like fix your posture.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
No, you're. Okay, fine. Do it normal.